stranger, they're calling me a liar, they're calling me a dictator. Take away the children, take away their work, and fade in my behavior. Tell me I must know that it's fade in my behavior. Tell me I must know. I'm so stranger than me, I know the same way as you. Just cause I'm far away from home, you say I don't belong to you. You always say my culture, the things that I've learned. You want the total attention, the pride that I am. But what remains is a question I'd like to ask you. As soon as I feel, who are you gonna think of bad things to?
What's up, brothers? All right, John Boston. Hello, Rad. Speaking of phones, I found out the simp surgeon I know isn't dating the busted Pillsbury can single mom. She dumped him, and I'm sure Chad was in her. Oh my gosh. You got to be kidding me, John. Good to have you. That's crazy. Wow. And she is not attractive. Joe Biden in the house. Daniel back. Shadow Batman is back. Good to see you, brother. Get those channels up. Look up the band Turnstile. I think you'd like them. I did. They're actually not too bad. Not too bad. Good seeing you again. We got D-Man 50 in the house. D-Man 50. Pleasure. Aaron Dulon from Hawaii. Good to have you. Ubermensch is back. Ubermensch is fun. Hey, Rebel, my friend. What's cracking, Mateus? Obrigado for being here, my friend. Well, I thought I would do this because phones are literally destroying humanity. Actually, technology and screens from a social consciousness perspective. I can tell you personally that phones have impacted my life. I remember when we first got our first smartphone, 2011. It was an Android. I think iPhone was on the very first iteration. It was extremely expensive to have an iPhone. I didn't see the value at the point, but phones literally began to whittle away the foundation of everything. Now, did it cause everything? No, but it was obviously a catalyst to promote non-loyalty. How about that? JR is in the house. Good to see you. AZ, what up, Rad? Happy holiday from Queens. Bless y'all, good men. Chase excellence. No sleep till Brooklyn, but no sleep till Queens. Anyhow, I live next to a gentleman that's a psychologist, specifically a child psychologist, telling me that between the ages of 7 and 11, young boys were addicted to prawn and screens. And the amount of mental illness and anxiety medication that's being prescribed is literally off the charts. I tell people that want to get into healthcare, go into behavioral mental health. That's where the money's being made. Therapists, psychologists, sociologists are so backed up with clients because people cannot handle real life without their, hold for it, without their phone. Phones also extend to screens. And screens could be anything, right? Screens could be Netflix, sitting around all day and watching Netflix, hanging around all day in forums, right? Basically using a screen to escape life. And we all do it. I mean, we're all guilty of it. Oscar M, finally catching one of your live stream. Good to have you, brother. Phones impacted my life too. John Boston, without the phone, my ex wouldn't be addicted to it. And I think the addiction, besides teenagers and young tweens, ladies have a very higher addiction to phones than men do. Now, I could be wrong, but I think I read that somewhere, especially older, 35 plus and older men. Fabian is back. Hola to you, amigo. Mucho gusto. Polska Bob. Polska Bob, all the way from Chicago. The Bears. I had a little cheap prepaid Motorola in 2011, sold it for weed. You know what? You probably got more ahead with that transaction than you would have with that phone. At least you could have had some peace and freedom sitting in a corner, right? Listening to some Doors or some Bob Dylan. Most psychologists are pure charlatans. Well, absolutely right. I think the way that psychologists and therapists make money is they constantly book you every 2 or 3 days. You keep going back and back and back and back. If you don't go to them as a client, then they lose money. However, today's day and age, they're swamped. These psychologists are swamped with appointments, patients, you have it. Because the phone, the technology has literally become half our consciousness. People live in their phones. The phone is the new boyfriend to the girl. Well said, Fabian. I was just thinking about text games, dating apps, and all the BS that comes from owning a cell phone. It's a major cause behind relationship problems, Gnostic by choice. Couldn't have said it better, brother. Counterproductive they are, but a nice break, find the balance. And I'm not saying dump your phone. I'm saying find a way to let that phone be part of your life in terms of communication. You know, I use it for internet, I use it for email, I use it for work. I have no social media apps, and I use it for texting, you know, keeping in touch with communicating. We do communicate today through text, through video, through Marco Polo. I get that. I'm saying, how far are you going to allow that phone to control your life? And it's an average of 10 hours a day is what the American Psychology Association says. 10 hours a day, we are addicted to screens. Could be a television, could be a tablet, could be a phone, could be a computer. And everyone's got myopia at this point, right? Everyone's got myopia. And we're all guilty, Daniel. We need to go into nature, woods, the wilderness. You know, what's one of the greatest things about traveling is when I travel to other countries, my cell service doesn't go. Now, I could go buy a little SIM card and then have that information. I do have iMessage. I can communicate with my kids. My sons always know where I'm at, and or I'll send an email to my parents. But I'm not able to be texted or unless there's Wi-Fi, which is great. I literally unplug. I remember I went on a almost 4-hour hike between two pueblos in Guatemala, and there was no cell service. 4 hours. Think about this. Outside of sleeping, when was the last time you put your phone down for 4 hours? Well said, Daniel. Women are addicted to phones because they post pics and get guys texting them. John Boston laid it down in Chinatown. Validation for 300 Trebek. It's a validation tool. Now, I've said it all along back in the day that John and I and others, before the internet, before cell phones, before call waiting, before the VCR. I remember when the VCR was competing for Betamax and the other VHS. VHS won that battle. But women, when they got a haircut, I remember my mom, she'd come home with a haircut and she couldn't wait to show my dad, who was out working, her haircut and all of the neighbors and the church ladies. So she'd have to wait. She'd get her haircut on a Monday or Tuesday and then wait till Sunday to show the church ladies. You know, there was no selfies. There was none of that crap. And oh, how so excited she was to go to church and show, you know, everybody her haircut. Mateus, I try to get rid of the screens as much as I can, but unfortunately the professional life forces me to use it more than I'd like to. Yes, absolutely. And that's an unfortunate. Everyone stares at screens now, unless you're outside in construction or doing something that you have to use your hands and your head to build or create. Timmy Kramer in the backyard barbecuing steaks with sister's family. Attaboy, Timmy. Good to see you, Polska Bob. I got some time before I wrench Pop's stream. Good. Pop's always got some good stuff. I always catch that usually on a 2X. So there you go. One of my kids wants to go into psychology. I was not for it. Too many issues when dealing with other people's problems. Yes. Most therapists and most psychologists are basically people trying to fix themselves. I remember our family marriage therapist. She was divorced twice, both of them. They're both ladies, giving us advice how to keep a marriage together. Yeah, right. Do you think technology becomes sentient in human beings the next 10 to 20 years? Well, Elon Musk wants the Neuralink, right? He wants to chip us I think there's going to be some sort of chip, barcode, something. That's going to be the next anti-poke movement. So everyone that doesn't believe in the jab is not going to believe in the chip. And it's going to cause issues, I bet, with banking. With locks are probably not going to be physical. They're going to be digital locks. I think cars will be basically are becoming digital. I don't even have a key in my car. I got a push button. So you're going to see all that. So I think you're right, JR. Once I went to a psychiatrist and a psychologist in the same day, and both were nuts. If you can't sum it up with that word, nuts, I don't know what you can. Been listening to the Reddit relationship channels, want to find out if your girl is cheating? Check her phone. They all use it. If they don't give you their password or give you their phone, but then again, would you really want to see that? If you even have an inkling that they're stepping out, walk. Beat it. Especially if someone's seeking self-validation or validation from others through pictures and selfies. Don't be with that one, which is 98% of them. When my ex used to go to the hairdresser, it was like her national holiday and she couldn't do anything else. There you go. Yeah. It was a national holiday. Damn right. Ariana Sol, guys cheat on social media as well, so both ends are screwed. Well, there's a lot of cheating on both ends. Absolutely. Today, relationships are disposable. And, but there's that the data is now saying that a lot of folks think it's equal, but there's a higher percentage now that are female that are finding ways to monkey branch. Now, I'm not saying men. We hold men accountable too. So appreciate you being here. Where are you at? If you think phones are bad, watch when the Oculus goggles becomes a thing. David Cummings in the house. Good to have you. Damn psychiatrists, they don't work the same. The diet don't work the same. The laundry detergent don't work the same. Red mine back, meatballs and spaghetti on the menu, listening while I cook. You throw in some oregano in there. What kind of spices do you put in your spaghetti? My ex used to make really good meatballs. Made them out of turkey. So we'd have turkey, homemade sauce. It was delicious. See, I don't bash her. I'm having people over to stare at their phones later if you want to come by, says Cesar. Go to a restaurant and watch everybody on a date and watch where their phones are. Pulse Kebab. Troy the man. Can't get cheated on if you don't get into a LTR. There you go. There you go. Well said. Don't put them central. Don't put a relationship as your universe. Don't put the phone as your universe. Put you as your universe. Screens have the ability to derail you very quickly. Screens are hive mind thinking. Screens are validation. Screens create loneliness. That was going to be my topic, but I did something on loneliness last week. And that's what it causes. It's built to cause dopamine releases. And then when you don't get released, when the dopamine doesn't get released, then you're feeling bad and you wait till the dopamine gets solid again. Right? So the chemical, the physiological combination of dopamine and non-dopamine also causes depression. That's why a lot of gamers, when they're playing Call of Duty or whatnot, they have high spikes and then high lows. Think about that. High spikes and high lows. It's this rubber band that it's actually extreme, which causes depression and loneliness. Same thing with social media. Women behavior is incredible. My girl literally got mad at me for not texting her this morning after she ignored my last night's text. Well, anxiety is through the roof. In fact, there's a lot of guys out there that are big simps that fall in love in 2 minutes and 2 days. And if they don't get text right away, they go massive female beta male, right? The racism that you're experiencing with spaghetti don't work the same. And John Boston, he's got some Italian. We got to get some of John Boston's Italian family recipes. I was at a restaurant in New York City and the girl had the guy blocked on social media and he took her out. Makes no sense. Ariana Soul. It's the thirst. The thirst is real. They started fighting out loud, only reason I know. Why would he take someone out who blocked him? She wanted a free meal? Maybe that was a foodie call? Foodie call for 300 Trebek. And that guy was too simpy, white knight, living in the fantasy that he actually did it. He probably paid for everything. Distractions, distractions, that's all there is in society nowadays. And I think that's exactly right. If you're distracted, you're off your purpose. If you're distracted, you're following the hive mind. If you're distracted, you're programmed. If you're distracted, your brain is getting processed with dish soap. I think that word is triggering algorithms. But you get what I'm saying. The distraction puts you into loneliness. Because now you've got to look for a utility in your hand. You've got to look for somebody that can communicate with you, because we've conditioned now to seek communication through screens. That's not how life should have been. That's never how it's been. In the last 10 years, screens have literally devoured human consciousness. Now, remember when you had email at work? When email first came out around 98, 99, maybe 94 with AOL, you would leave that email at work and you wouldn't worry about it or think about it till the next day. And then it got into personal emails. People started using it more and more, sending pictures of families and whatever. I don't even think you could send pictures in the beginning, but where have we come now? It's devoured us. That's why we say, get out, get hiking, put the phone down. Just start. If you can't put the phone down, start easy, 30 minutes, then go to an hour, then 2 hours, then spend the Saturday afternoon with the phone up. If you got to tell people you're going to be out of pocket, that's all right too. Learn to be away from it. Fabian, thanks to screens, I found red pill content. You know what? Me too. And that's the key. It's all moderation. I'm not saying don't be anti-phone. Don't be anti-screen. Let you control it. Don't let it control you. My wallet never cheats on me. I have all of her passwords. We trust each other. Hey, your wallet's the 1% to 2%er. Love it. I'm about to eat mole. Ooh, mole is delicious. Don't know if you're familiar with it. It's chicken and rice covered. Oh, I love mole. Down in Salt Lake, there's a place called Red Iguana that's got it's the best mole I've had in the States. That sounds delicious. But I'm fasting. 12:10 till 12:10 tomorrow. Matt Downer in the house. There's a man that's out walking the trails. Got a lot of snow this week. The only thing I trust is my wallet. When does the wallet let you down? Do you think the wallet monkey branches? I remember my wallet I had for 24 years. Had that wallet. And it was falling apart in Guatemala. I bought this new one, and I left my old wallet with the guy that made it. I said, you know what? You could probably use the leather from it for something. Hopefully he recycles the gringo's wallet, but I got a new one. Handmade. But I think I trust it at this point. Hasn't let me down. If anything, I leave it if I lose it, right? I've left it. So that's where we're at. The screens, literally, we got to figure out a way to moderate our usage. And we're all guilty. We're all guilty. 64 here in Boston. Yeah, it's 32 degrees here. We got 6-7 inches yesterday. We had some flakes today. It's good for the mountains, good for the water, but yeah, crazy. Now, another thing is watching people that watch. I mean, if you binge watch, I get it. Watch 2 or 3 episodes here, no problem. But if you spend 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. all day watching shows, I don't think that's effective either. I think we got to figure out a balance, right? And you got to move every single day. Phone technology culture is vitality. JR? That's right. Yes, we are watching screens. Now, the purpose of this was phones, especially, go look at the kids today. And I know about this because I have kids. I've had to pull my kid away from his phone, and it's hard. He's attached to it. It's like a part of his body. Now, what are the screens doing? That's the key. Are they helping you become a better version of yourself? Are you learning things that will help you on your path? Are you communicating with good friends and family that you haven't talked to, or do you talk to? I think those are good uses of phone. Are you researching potential vacation spots? And they're all catalysts to the journey in life. Are you learning more? And I like to watch, when I watch YouTube channels, I don't watch them. I basically listen to them while I'm doing other things, which would be similar to watching or listening to a radio show. But it is kind of funny. It is ironic that we're talking about phones and screens, but we're watching them. But it's just figuring out a way to have moderation in them. I've talked to a lot of guys that literally live in their phones too. We think women live in their phones. My daughter lives in her phone. That's her house. Anything that happens in her phone literally impacts her external world and internal world, if you think about it. So we got to figure out a way to move forward. How do we use this technology? And I think I just mentioned it. Does it make us better? Does it keep us in contact with people in our life that are important? Does it push our agenda, which is peace, quiet, and freedom, and being the best version of ourselves? So in that case, great. Now, sometimes it's great just to decompress and watch a nutty type show or something that doesn't make us think. I get that. But if that's what we're using it for hours and hours on end, it's not a good use. This is nothing I'm saying that's true. My parents used to say that all the time. Quit watching TV all day. Get out and do things, right? 65 and windy yesterday, 35 today, Chicago weather. Dang right, man. Chicago can swing the poles. We are all attached to it 100%. 100%. Illusion Smasher back, therapy session. I think we're all getting some therapy from this. And make us think. I use for chill time, education, and entertainment. There you go. Yeah. I mean, look, I got YouTube on. YouTube is basically my search engine. I use YouTube for everything. Fixing cars, fixing my house, doing my own maintenance on my furnace, figure out how to get stains out of the carpet, figuring out how to clean my shower that's got hard water deposits. And then, looking at all sorts of things. I like to watch Ben Shapiro's. I like to see what the new generation is like, the TikToks with these very different type of people that like very interesting colored hairs. More of a sociology experiment. But you're right. I drive for work, so I listen to vids all day. Watch vids at home. Polska. There you go. Nothing wrong with listening. There are people who can't even go to the bathroom without their phone. That is 100% true. People literally, I put my phone on vibrate at night when I go to bed. I should probably just turn it off, but I have it there. There's people that don't put it on vibrate. They're listening to their phone, the beeps and blings all night long. Social media is a dangerously overabundant of narcissism and vanity. Ooh, well said, JR. Well said. I think we're all guilty of that. Stay away from sitcoms. The token white male character is dumb and stupid, so don't watch sitcoms. They're all portrayed as Homer Simpson and Family Guy, right? Goofy, dumb. George Costanza, what do you mean really want quiet? What do men really want? Quiet. River Rat. Yeah, I mean, quiet, peace and quiet's great. It helps us think. It helps us gather our thoughts. There is a cell phone brand light that only makes and receives call, nothing else. It's a modern brand. I've seen that. It's thin, isn't it? I've seen that phone. I wonder how Meta will play out, keeping it simple, stupid. Coach Greg Adams did a Meta thing today. In the future of, and he's right, it's not going away. That's the future, right? You just have to figure out a way to not be of it, but it works going that way. I haven't had any Facebook, Twitter, Instagram since 13 when I converted to Red Pill. Good for you. It's probably saved you a ton. I deleted all that crap about 7 years ago. I use YouTube for all kinds of information, found some great channels on real estate. I found so many fasting channels too. Yep. And that's what I use it for. Even going to Guatemala, Colombia, I watch videos on what areas are great, some, educational, right? Informational. That's in key. And then every now and again, some entertainment, some wacko, old jerky boys or something. Laughter's important too, guys, right? Maybe some Jim Brewer, Jim Gaffigan. Maybe some clips from like Spaceballs or Star Wars or something. Phones are insidious when parents went from taking them away from their 18-year-olds to buying them for their 4-year-olds. There you go. Yeah, I remember when I first got my daughter a phone, she was 12 years old. And I said, I don't want you to get addicted. Oh, Dad, I won't get addicted. She's addicted, man. It's worse than crack. I'm telling you. She lives in her phone. Well said, Red. CJ Wilkins back. I'm super guilty of this. We all are. And that's why we're here. How can we move forward in life and coexist with screens? Because we can't get rid of screens unless we live out in the middle of nowhere and we're off the grid like massive preppers or something, which I'm not against or not opposed to. But for the most part, I do my banking online. I purchase things online. I study online. A lot of my job to fill orders and to communicate is through online platforms, right? But we have to figure out a way to deplug, to unplug from the matrix, to detach. I learned to pick locks from YouTube, a fun hobby. I've seen a couple videos like that. Definitely something everybody should learn. Lock pick sets are cheap, under $50. I think I've seen a couple deals. My son was all into prepping, survival, wilderness survival, kits on little survival kits, how to sharpen a knife with a tree branch or something like that. There you go. Rad, don't judge people take their phones to the bathroom. There's probably a wiping app. I know, I'm coping. 98% of modern women are married to their phone. No wonder most single men get the cold shoulder. I've always said the phone is the new boyfriend. YouTube is the best social media site, bar none. David Cummings, yeah. People say, Rad, go to another platform. Those platforms are jokes, right? The Lockpicking Lawyer is a great channel. Oh, and that's another thing, legal. There's some good things you can learn from lawyers, from guys that have gone through certain issues. So if you're using it for information, educational, training, learning, great. But then, spend an hour and walk around the city. Spend an hour and go meet people physically. I've got these guys on the roof. They're throwing tar at each other, and I threw them off the roof. Yeah, those little jokes, threw them off the roof. Roofing. I remember that one. It was on the first one. I went to a mall just now, and I think it's good the malls are dying. Matt Downer. Remember malls back in the day? Geez, we lived at the malls. Friday night, Saturday during the day, maybe one day in the week. That was our social media, the malls and school. Yeah, that's what I put mustard on that shit. Classic jerky. That's the insulator job, right? Yeah, I would 350 pounds, baby. Pounds, baby. Put your boss on. I'll speak to him. Eddie A. Checking in from work tonight. Hope all is well with you. Good to have you, Eddie. See ya back. Younger generations have been spoon-fed tech, and going without is a no-go. Tech is ever-changing, developing with greater dependency by users. There's not going back. Next stop, metaverse. You're right. And Greg Adams has been talking about that for a while. I watched another information channel that talked about metaverse. Companies are moving into it. I just saw that Nike they just created a patent for their digital shoe in the metaverse. So you as an avatar can buy clothing, buy real estate, probably buy digital cars. Companies are getting into it. They tried this in Second Life. I remember Second Life about 10 years ago. And I remember Coke had bought something in Second Life, but I don't think that took off. It was so premature. And I did read that book, Snow Crash, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. My buddy gave it to me, and it was like the weirdest thing. So it's going. And a lot of people, if you want to see a great movie, I saw with what was Bruce Willis, Surrogates. It was kind of similar. They would use avatars, sick people, fat people, ugly people, became able-bodied people, beautiful people, athletic people, and they would live in this crazy world. And then someone cut the cord and they all died. But you're absolutely right, Sia. Thank from YouTube, I'm learning English. Dang right. You're using it for the right purposes. Education. Frank Rez. Frank! Get the wax out of your ear. What do you got, corn cobs in your ear? Billy the Goat is in the house. Good to see you, brother. Didn't get my first phone until I was 21, then again when I was 26. Preppers, minimalist, and survivalist. Got it down. Rely on yourself and your knowledge and skills. Yeah. It's kind of sad how people are literally living. Again, people are going to live in the metaverse. They're only going to sleep. Raul, the way social media is going, we'll soon have a social credit score as portrayed in one Black Mirror episode. Raul, I think you're right. I mean, China's got it now. Have a good night to you, Polska Bob. Sounds like some Black Mirror. Is that movie that TV show Black Mirror? YouTube is a great learning platform, especially knowledge on female nature. Yeah. And understanding how men should act and be. Men have not been taught, unless you had a great dad. A lot of the youth today, I get calls and texts and emails from guys that have never had a father figure. They don't know how to act. They find these channels. They learn from others. Hopefully they learn, right? They learn what to do and what not to do, how to be a man. Masculinity is key. I just read this article today. You ever seen the Bass Pro Shops? A lot of kids, and my kids started wearing a Bass Pro Shop hat. And it's really popular. It's kind of like a Von Dutch was 15 years ago. But the Bass Pro hat, I've seen a bunch of kids wearing them lately. And I wanted to figure out what the hell, they're $6 hats. And part of the article said, because it exemplifies masculinity. So even younger kids, now regardless if they're wearing it because they're popular or whatnot, part of the draw to it is it's a masculine, it's a fishing pole, right? Guys go out and fish, something masculine. Are we seeing a shift back to strong, stoic men? There's a desire to go that way, but can boys, can Gen Z, can millennials, and even Gen X folks and boomers, can they really get back to that world of being strong and not being feminine men? And feminine men come in all shapes and sizes, gents. They're at the gym doing steroids. They're at 6'4" chads that act feminine. All right. Some of the most masculine dudes I know are 5'3" that can bench 350 and drive big trucks, and you would never think that they, just by looking at it, you'd think they're a wimp. No way. Some of the biggest dudes I know, built, muscle, ripped, tone, are some of the most feminine men and emotional men I've ever met, and everyone in between. Red Mind, ever notice how females discuss philosophy, ideas, introspection? YouTube is a mostly male platform because YouTube is about learning, thinking, demonstrating, and doing. Well said, brother. You're absolutely right. It is about learning. And that's what men like to do, create. We create based on information, based on experience. I wanted to create a vacation somewhere I'd never been. So I went to YouTube. I went to Reddit. I went to TripAdvisor forums. This is what you look out for. These are where some cool areas are. Avoid these areas. But we want to, eventually at the end of the day, we pull the covers back. Men want to just create. We want to build. When you can't build without information or experience. Well said, brother. That's very well said. Robert in the house. Good to see you. Robert in Texas, by way of New York. Jerky boys. I thought I was alone until I found the manosphere, decades of stepping on rakes. Bolo. I mean, me too. Before, one of the first guys I found was Big John. Boy, I binge watched those videos. I mean, I was learning. It helped me in so many ways, education wise, experience, dealing with the mental devastation from a divorce. There's a lot of value in this. We help each other. It's great. But you got to figure out a balance. That's the key. I use YouTube for music and RP and MGTOW content, connecting with brothers. Sorry for the cap locks. And that's what I use it for. I love watching old concerts, from some of the bands I grew up with. I'd type in Portland, Oregon, and the Cult, 1986, pop up. Dang, man. That's great too. It's entertainment, it's education, it's information, Increase in feminine men and masculine women. You're 100% right. FJT back, the legend rad. FJT's a legend. He's the Chad. He's coping. I'm just trying to cope. FJT learning guitar and Spanish through the internet, through YouTube, right? Improving oneself. Masculinity is not in the body, it is in the mind. Billy the Goat. Couldn't have said it better. Male models or pretty boys are some of the biggest powder puffs. Metrosexuals. Remember this one guy at work, he was so metro. Everything was perfect. It's just I had to think about it because most guys don't really think about how specific they have to look. I mean, talking detailed. As a millennial, I observed that many and most Gen X people around me look low-key, frustrated, burnt out. Looks like they are angry but don't know why. I think it's just because of the consciousness of what they've grown up in. The technology, the invisible bits that are passing all around the air. The dopamine spikes. I mean, all these folks have grown up on social media. They've grown up on Ready Player One type games, Call of Duties, the Fortnites. And you just can't compete. Dopamine, people go on dopamine fasts so that they can come back to base. Too much dopamine is not a good thing either. That's probably why, Red. FJT, if you don't smash, then you're coping. Attaboy. The external superficial is feminine. You might not be religious, but Jesus once said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Think about that for a second. Regardless if you believe or don't believe, or if he was fictional or non-fictional, just that statement alone. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Internal. Nothing on the external can make you happy, can be heavenly, unless you're right in the internal, right? The internal is the projector is the internal mind. The projection is the external world. You can't go to a screen and shift the characters on that screen and change the movie. You have to change the projector's film. The film is the movie, not the screen. That's what I think Jesus, the Buddha, Krishna, some of the great sages have always said, everything that you experience on the external should begin within the internal, which I love that philosophy. Thanks, brother. All right, I found a Rush concert I went to in 82. Isn't that great when you see something you've been to? Or how about going someplace? I remember I went to Aruba in 1992, and it used to have the natural bridge, a rock formation. Well, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, that was taken out by a hurricane or something. And I saw a video of it and pictures and so forth before that happened, and I saw it after that happened. But, where places you've been that, you can say you've been there. Experience is what we're looking for here. I just watched Memento Mori by Lamb of God. Great song. True message. Lamb of God. There you go. Stay away from brony. I was just thinking about bronies the other day. That is the weirdest deal. And furries. Yeah, furries. I have equal contempt for both bronies and furries. Good to see George. But that's the reality. How much do we depend on phones and screens to make our lives better? We should have great lives and incorporate that technology or use that technology to better ourselves. And that's what's making folks lonely. That is what is making folks lonely. Can everybody hear me? Red Mind Man, I hate all simps equally. Simping ain't easy for 300 Trebek. George says Elon Musk said we are already cyborgs and our phones are an extension of our bodies. I don't think he's wrong. Depending on how do we, thanks, brother. Even men can fall into the hive mind. The metaverse is hive, if you think about it. We have to figure out a way to deal with it. Can you believe relationships in the metaverse? Simps are enablers through technology. It's a free for all. Damn right. JR, damn right. Forgive us all, for we all have simped. Yes, indeed, 100%. If anyone that's at the Red Pill has come to the Red Pill and never said he simped and he was constantly an alpha male. Number one, if you say you're alpha, you're not. But whatever. Saying they never simped, everyone is simped. I've simped. I'm a reformed simp. Forgive us all, for we have simped. The simps are the enablers. D-Man 50. I use YouTube for Red Pill lessons from my history and Spanish classes and hard to find old music. Dang right. I love even old interviews from like some of your favorite musicians. Like I saw Robert Plant or an old Jim Morrison interview from like the 60s. I thought that was great. I mean, you know, use it for those purposes, but don't use it to just escape life. Don't use it to validate yourself through others. Well said, Robert. Getting married in the universe. It's going to happen. Buy a digital tuxedo shop, and I bet you'll make a ton of money. Go and patent it, and lead us not into simping. I simp last night, and I cannot lie. True other brothers cannot deny. Yeah. PCS are my extensions. That's why I love built them. Simps that don't want to help. Simps that don't want to help be damned. Oh, yeah. We all slip up as long as you know you slipped up is the main thing. Now, that's the key. Get out and recognize where you're at and recognize that, you know what? Hey, maybe you're putting too much emphasis into your phone. Maybe that's what's causing loneliness. Maybe that's what's causing anxiety. Anxiety is an internal condition, usually exacerbated by the external. I mean, and I'm not discounting it. I'm saying the anxiety has gone through the roof in the last 5 years based on what's sitting in people's hands. And that's clinical. You all get virtually divorce scraped in the metaverse. Don't think Zuck hasn't thought of how to fleece you there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no such. I mean, how does that even work? I mean, I'm just trying to put my thoughts around it. What a whack job thinking. Say, Sifu is back. Good to see that. Wonderful Grand Sage in the house, giving the youngsters a dose of reality from his experience. Music soothes my mind from this harsh reality, reminds me lessons learned from life. Damn right. I love playing guitar to YouTube. Sifu, your headline dragged me in. There you go. I've seen some of your posts lately. Good stuff. Stop the need for external validation, says Raul. I think that message needs to be loud and clear. Don't seek it on the outside. Kenta is back. Good to have you in the house, brother. Good to have you in the house. I'm glad everyone is checking out Sifu's channel. He's got some good stuff out in Idaho. Yeah, got some good stuff. Rad, do you remember the game Second Life? Do you think that the metaverse is going to be like? Yes, that was just the original version 1.0. I remember Coke bought something in the Second Life. Real estate. So again, the metaverse, people are literally, companies now are jumping into it. So, and companies will embrace companies that do that, and companies go. There's going to be money to be made, but it's also going to be, in my book, we think we're addicted now to technology. Can you imagine what it's going to be like then? And who knows? I could be completely wrong. Maybe it'll benefit society. I don't see it benefiting society, people escaping into special headsets. That's not reality. Reality is created through your five senses. However, look at video games today. Video games almost look real. What's going to happen in 5 to 10 years? I mean, some of these movies that we've seen, what was the one with Scarlett Johansson? She was that waifu robot that looked like a woman, a real person. You're going to be seeing that. 5 to 10 years from now, can you imagine what waifus are going to look like? I mean, there's literally going to be robots that look, talk, feel like skin. They move like humans. They have recall 1,000,000 times faster than humans. You're not going to be going to a doctor in the future. I bet you're going to go to a doctor in the metaverse. There's another thing. Medical is going to be in the metaverse. In the future, you will go to a doctor who is a robot, because the recall, the algorithms can create a diagnosis in 3 seconds based on you breathing into some apparatus. In fact, it could be a temperature gauge, and they find out everything 100 million times quicker than any human can. And we're already talking about it in healthcare conferences I've been to. I'm on my phone all the time, and I'm usually playing music while I drive. I check Facebook just to steal memes. I have no other social. There you go. You are living in moderation, my friend. Oh, darn. Some people are seeing you on. You got a good channel. Red Mind's got a good channel. CJ's got a good channel. We need a mandatory poker so we can become immune to external validation. My body is ready. Boost me. You're going to have to need 4 boosts for that every year. Tech is a false sense of escaping. I would agree with that. The only social media I use is YouTube and Reddit, says Joe. Both used for education. Very well. Blade Runner. Blade Runner's real, man. We're living in very interesting times. Whatever happened to old gaming consoles and something that starts with insert coin? How about 2-player? Put in 2 quarters and you can have 2-player. And then remember, you need to line all your quarters up right on that screen. You had that little lip. You couldn't play it until the guy was through with his quarters or he left. Or tokens. Remember tokens at the arcade? Those were some times when you only had 1 joystick and 1 button. Atari. A virtual presence in your house could be a helpmeet, a waifu. For intimacy, the house cooks for you, and the artificial woman creates singularity. I think in the future, humans are going to become pets, because most of our needs and chores will be done by robots. Slam Cave, Terminator will be real. And I don't think you're mistaken about that. They did an experiment on 2 robots speaking language, and they created their own language between them. The engineers had to literally terminate them. They created their own language talking to each other. That shit's real. Rad is not exactly family friendly, but check out the movie 2050, Predictive Programming on Steroids. Ooh, 2050. Let me write that down. I love all of that stuff, like 13th Floor, The Matrix, The Game with Michael Douglas, Truman Shows, Looper. Imagine allowing that robot spyware into your domain. Only time I'm connected is when I'm actively using, though I suppose government and the schlackers enter whenever they wish. Oh, yeah. I've been using DuckDuckGo for a while. But who knows? Digital, You leave a trace wherever you go digitally. Think about that. Wow, Street Fighter, that was a good one. Pinball machines are my jam. Go to the Pinball Museum in Vegas. This some rich guy, bought hundreds of pinball machines in old arcades, and they're $0.25 a piece. You can play a pinball machine. I think the oldest one is 1939. It's all wooden. I played it. Played tons of Pinball Museum in Vegas. I think it's on Tropicana, but it's kind of outside the strip. I've developed technology immunity and herd immunity. I've around people all the time that have had COVID, and I'm still negative. Yeah, I've traveled 5 different times in the last 2 years to 2 different countries, and no problem. Maybe fasting is the key. This is not a new situation. E.M. Foster wrote a story in 1906 called The Machine Stops. He could have been seeing us today. Well, even Edgar Cayce, if you guys know who Edgar Cayce is, he was kind of that Nikola Tesla type in the same years. He had some predictions. N64 was insanely addicting back in the day. I remember the original Nintendo. My favorite games were Donkey Kong and Excitebike. Ebony Diamond right on. That post was a joke. There you go. But, even back then, playing video games. I mean, I remember this one neighbor who played Atari all day long. So even the screen he was watching that was almost 40 years ago, 1985. So learn how to coexist, but not let it control you. Screens and phones and technology do have their place in life, and we'll all continue to use them. But use your brain first. And if you need to create, you're going to go and look for ways to create by researching folks that have maybe created something that you have similar, or looking at tools to purchase to create something. But under the covers, the screen should be a catalyst for you. That's all I'm saying. And the more we use and get addicted to the validation within phones, and maybe I should have labeled this internal validation through technology, or self-validation through technology is, a recipe for disaster. But anyway, you get the point. Use technology to become a better version. And you know what? You need a good laugh every now and again. Watch the old Eddie Murphy, Raw, right? Or some old Richard Pryor, or John Candy, or some Jerky Boys. Anybody remember the holodeck from Star Trek? Oh, Star Trek was way ahead of its time. I'm still old school. I have a PS2, Xbox 360, and a Wii. I still got a Wii. I remember a Wii. That Wii was fun because we did it as a family, and you had to use your body. And there's some good things about Wii. I never wanted an Xbox, but I lost that deal because I figured my kids would get addicted. But you know what? Kids today, 10 years ago, 5 to 8 years ago, they hang out with their friends online. That's just reality. And every now and again, you play an hour on Xbox, you need to play 2 to 3 hours outside. That was my rule. Air hockey. Used to love playing air hockey. That air coming up, hitting that puck real hard. CLR cleaner for hard water, rinse well though. DKS 138. Yeah, I don't know if I've used that. I've tried so many different things, especially on tile. It just doesn't work. But I've never tried that. And a pool table. Again, social media was around the pool table, right? Enjoyed talking, communicating. The Social Dilemma breaks down how toxic AI and smartphone is. Mr. Amazing MGTOW, check his channel out. Yes, I saw The Social Dilemma. In fact, a lot of the early creators of Instagram and Facebook are saying it's destructive. But we're too far gone at this point. These kids have grown up. They've actually grown up in the cocoon of technology. They live through ones and zeros at the end of the day. Our host dropped a truth bomb. Deleted Facebook and Instagram 2 years, and it feels much more organic to listen to the music or go outside. phone as a tool for educational purposes like YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I go on walks, an hour walks. I work out with my phone. I put on, Motley Crue or Def Leppard or Guns N' Roses or some old fast punk, and I work out to it. There's benefits to having a phone. How much do we allow that technology to control our peace, quiet, freedom, and happiness? If you're looking for it in your phone, you're not going to find it. And even the education that you get is something internal saying, hey, I want to learn about something. Maybe you saw it on a YouTube post. Maybe you learned, hey, maybe when I was researching Guatemala, Croatia came up. Wow, Croatia looks cool too. I had no idea. A week of backpacking without tech is the best dopamine detox I've ever had. I felt like a kid again. There you go. Remember back in the day, we would go to these campgrounds with my kids and my ex-wife, and you couldn't get technology. You couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal. You couldn't even get cell signal. And for 2.5 days, we hung out in the water, on the raft, made Dutch oven cooking, campfire, played games, card games. We had to learn how to communicate again. What happens if there's an electricity outlet? Phone charges last about 12 hours. Conservatively speaking, what if it lasts for several days or weeks? I think all hell will break loose if that happens. People are so anxious with their phones now. Can you imagine what they'll be like without them? Dang. I am not ashamed to say my primary social interaction is virtual, but I choose carefully who I watch and interact with. Well, the reality is we find value and education and experience through screens. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you got to balance it. I think that balancing is the key. And you probably agree, Sifu. I saw a video of you driving your car and talking. The Crew and Van Halen all day long. And check out Wolfgang Van Halen's stuff. I'm very impressed by Wolfgang. He plays all of his own instruments on the new record. They opened up for Guns N' Roses. It looked like put on a great show. I knew a 2-year-old boy a few years ago who ran his iPhone by himself. Oh, you should see these kids today. These kids know exactly how to run and find content. It's like it's built-in microchips in their heads. I used to hit the basketball courts back in the day. Everyone I knew disappeared into life and its problems, different life paths indeed. Good for you. Move your energy. The kids will go crazy. They rarely pick up a book or have face-to-face conversation. And a lot of these kids can't even speak anymore. Everything's done in text speech. Bad handwriting, no abbreviation. Can you imagine what society is going to be like literally in 50 years? Idiocracy. Idiocracy is where we're headed. People can't speak correctly. They can't write real papers. Matthew says, rad, phones and social media have transformed what used to be pleasant people in my life into insufferable human beings. Amazing what social media has done to folks. And I couldn't agree with you more. We have seen literally the destruction of humanity and consciousness through seeking validation. That's all it comes down to. It's not the phone, it's the validation seeking that is built into these apps. People seek validation externally. That's why people are depressed. That's why people are lonely. That's why people have anxiety. That's why people self-delete. That's why so many things happen. Remember that lady you're married to that's in love with you? She's going to see some picture, potentially, of another couple where they're happier because they have something that you don't. So she's now going to say that her life sucks. You're right, Matthew. Teaching my son about beautiful views outside, people watching, and preaching good social skills to him, like back and forth. Too many people would be ruined if the grid goes down. Good for you. And you have, Slam, the ability to do that 100% now. Hope you're doing well. Same with post-college and old coworkers. Guys, even women in their 60s, 70s are on social media, posting. I watched my ex almost lose her mind when she would lose her phone. It was scary how hostile she would get. She would treat me like crap, find the phone, back to normal. Yeah, I'm telling you, it is a drug, big time. Even holding that phone becomes an extension of someone. I'm so addicted to YouTube, I'm watching this while I'm working right now. I thought I lost my phone in Guatemala, and I was a little nervous about it because, that was my communication to my family, my kids. Now, could I have bought another phone? Sure, but everything I had, my phone numbers and so forth within that phone, I was a little nervous. So, yeah, I mean, even we have to figure out the importance of where that fits. And maybe I go back to a light phone, a dumb phone, because I'm tired of all these bells and whistles. I'm so addicted to YouTube. I'm watching this while I'm working right now. Well, you're probably listening more than watching. Physical books will always be one of the greatest comforts. Yeah, I was never a big fan of digital books. I'm not saying they're bad. I think it's great. You can download books. I always like to feel the books. Like it felt more natural to read a physical book. I read them in hot tubs and I, corner the page if I wanted to say where I was at. I lose phones all the time. Once I did not find it for a month. I did not miss it till the last few days. There you go. Good for you. I'm addicted to YouTube, BitChute, the most common outlets for good RP info and other truths. Well, you're making dinner, or you were, and you're probably listening. So you're doing something while you're listening. Robert A., even the best friends, homies go ghost into infinity. Yeah. I recently got myself back into physical books. Nothing like the real thing. Yeah, there's something about the book. You know what else I've been doing? Instead of MP3ing everything, I've been pulling some CDs out and reading the leaves inside the CDs. Remember when you bought a CD back in the day or a cassette? It'd have like a long string of like pages. It had history about the band or history how they made it or pictures of the band and so forth. Man, and you would just sit there for an hour, maybe 2 hours. You'd listen to that thing 2-3 times. You'd be looking at the pictures. You'd physically hold something. There was something about the physical property of the media. Has anybody noticed the trend of females video themselves crying, like literally crying on camera? I have not. The self-absorption is more than I can handle. A cry for help or a cry for validation? Write an old school book of your numbers, an old school black book of your numbers. Just yes, I remember having the book. I still have like a little pocket organizer book that I still have numbers from like college. I still have it. I haven't gotten rid of it. There's something about it. I believe they're crying for attention and validation. You're 100% right. You guys have been great. This has always been a good chat. Remember, movement and vibration in the external world will do more than what you feel on the internal world or through the digital world. Bell against defeat, chase excellence, masculinity, men first.